Hey guys, this is Mike Hernandez with Rumble Book Club. I just finished reading What is a Woman by Matt Walsh. It's been obviously really talked about because it's also been kind of paired with the documentary by the same name by Matt Walsh and Daily Wire Productions as well, Daily Wire Entertainment as well. So it's been very much ballyhooed, very talked about, and also very ridiculed by people on the opposing side. So I kind of wanted to get my thoughts on it after literally just finishing it 15 minutes ago. So I wanted to get my raw and unfiltered thoughts. So Matt Walsh actually has a lot to say about the gender ideology movement as a whole. So he uses this question, "What is a woman?" as kind of a pointed way to really strike at the center of what this gender ideology is. But in his book, he kind of takes a different tack from other people that have written books recently about gender ideology. So there are some other examples of people who have written books on the topic that are critical of gender theory. Most notably was Abigail Schreier's book, Irreversible Damage, which I also did a review on. It was very good. Dr. Deborah So's book called The End of Gender, as well as a book titled When Harry Became Sally. I'm temporarily forgetting the name of the author, but I am currently reading that one as well. But Matt Walsh takes a different tack. So Abigail Schreier, her approach to this was to really focus her energy on the topic of sudden onset or rapid onset gender dysphoria, especially among young girls. Dr. Deborah So was primarily taking the tack of scientifically the errors in this process of gender ideology from her experience as a scientist, as a sexologist, and kind of where the scientific process is broken down in this gender ideology. It seems like that's also kind of a similar tack that's being taken in the book I'm currently reading, When Harry Became Sally, but Matt Walsh is taking kind of this different tack. He does talk about gender ideology more on a wholesale experience. So he goes into the history of it, the big proponents of it in the early days of the 30s, 40s, 50s, names like Alfred Kinsey and John Money. But then he also talks about the processes that allowed it to develop and spread throughout American culture. He really gets into the extent to which it's spread, not just in the culture, but also in laws. Then he talks about people that have resisted it, and he also talks about the effects of these drugs, such as Lupron, that are being given to people as young as 16, 15, in some cases, I believe even 14, as well as the surgeries. He gets into some detail, although not as much detail as someone like Dr. Deborah So gets into as far as the details of the surgery, or Abigail Schreier in her book. But it is gruesome nonetheless. It's not a book for people with a weak stomach, people that get very queasy reading about this stuff. And there is very disturbing stuff, especially when you get into not just the history, in many cases pedophilic history of gender ideology, but also how children are being abused even today. So it was a very disturbing read. So I would highly recommend it to a mature audience only. I did find the book very fascinating, very interesting. I'll have the full review of the book on Monday, where we actually break down like we normally do on this show, but I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out front, my first impressions. So go, if you haven't ordered it already, I actually would recommend you getting the book, assuming that you are mature enough to read this kind of more adult content. So the book's What is a Woman by Matt Walsh. Get ready for the review on Monday.